Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for an update. I wanted to take an opportunity and come to the citizens of Augusta and share an update regarding COVID-19 and where we are as a city, and more importantly, provide a call to action regarding the 2020 census. As we kick off our comments on this afternoon, I want to share with you how important it is to have a community that's diverse in nature, to not only have a community that's diverse in nature, but more importantly, to recognize those who make up our community. On September the 15th through October the 15th, we are excited to celebrate along with our Hispanic brothers and sisters. September the 15th through October the 15th, we want to honor the countless contributions that Hispanics and Latino Americans have made to the United States through culture, the arts, and the society as a whole. This is, in fact, National Hispanic Heritage Month. Once again, September 15th through October 15th, National Hispanic Heritage Month. There are some 60 million Hispanic Americans living in the United States of America. We are really excited to know that so many of our Hispanic brothers and sisters live in the community that we call Augusta, and certainly the CSRA, and they're making incredible contributions to be a part of the overall fabric of our city here in Augusta, Georgia. And so to that end, I want to make sure that everyone is aware of how important those contributions are. The success of the United States would not be what it is without Hispanic Americans flourishing in our nation. And once again, we honor the efforts of our Hispanic Americans in the community that we call Augusta. As of yesterday, September the 15th, at 2:40 p.m., there have been a total of 6,634 confirmed positive cases of COVID-19 in the Augusta area. In Georgia, there have been some 296,833 positive cases in the state of Georgia. And we've had 148 deaths. Those are not just numbers, but those are good Augustans, individuals who made an impact in the community that we call Augusta, Georgia, who made this their home. And again, we are continuing to lift up the loved ones who yet remain and who've lost a father, a brother, a sister, an uncle, a niece as a result of COVID-19. I want to remind all of our citizens in Augusta today that while we are seeing a decline in numbers, this is not the time to take our foot off the gas. We must remain vigilant. We've welcomed into the community we call home students from Augusta University who have come from across the nation. We've welcomed students who are back in the Richmond County school systems, along with our other institutions of higher learning, to include Augusta Technical College. And we want to welcome you to the city called Augusta. And while you're here being educated, matriculating through our schools, I want to encourage you to do three things. Number one, wear a mask. Number two, to wash your hands consistently. And number three, to watch your distance. Even as you are moving in and around the community that we call Augusta, I simply want to encourage each and every one of you that these three W's are critical to our long-term success. If we want to continue to see the opening of businesses, restaurants, theaters, outdoor events, and things like that, it is going to require all of us to continue to do the three W's: to wear a mask, to wash our hands, and also to watch our distances. Once again, the numbers have been declining over the past 5 weeks. We are waiting to see what the impact of Labor Day will have. So I don't want anyone to get too excited and to suggest that if we've seen a decline over 5 weeks, we can go back to what we've always done. And that's just not the case. that 5-week decline is because we put these measures in place and people have been compliant. We've worked together as one Augusta, and we're encouraged to see that. So 2 things that we're waiting to see: what the impact of school reopening will be, and more importantly, what the after effects of the Labor Day weekend will be. What we've seen in the past is that after Memorial Day and after the 4th of July holidays, we saw numbers increase significantly across the board in our region and certainly in our county. And we want to once again do everything that we can to make sure that we continue to see that decline. We reissued the executive order that was issued back in August. The current executive order, the executive order 2020-012, will expire on October the 8th. And based on our performance over the next several weeks, it will determine whether or not we need to reissue an executive order as it relates to the wearing of masks, the closure of facilities from a government standpoint, and just what our protocol is. And so I want to pivot now to the most important work that remains for the month of September. While we have 14 days left in this month, we've only got roughly 8 days in order to complete our work around the census. I met with the Census Bureau officials this morning from the Savannah office, and they have shared encouraging news with me. If you go to the census.gov website, it reports that Richmond County has a self-response rate of 59.7. We're slightly under the overall response rate for the state of Georgia. And we're doing much better than we were 3 weeks ago. There's been a rallying cry and a call to action. For those of you who are Augustans, particularly those who have school-aged children, those of you who are in public safety, law enforcement, those of you who are in the healthcare fields, I want to send out a challenge today. And that challenge is to take 5 of your family members and call them and ask them, have they completed the census? There are 3 ways that you can complete the census. First time ever in the history of our nation, you're able to go online at my2020census.gov and to complete the census, or you can call 1-844-330-2020, and without question, you can simply mail in the questionnaire that you received previously. Once again, this is conducted every 10 years. It is the most important work that we are engaged in right now, as we are wanting to make sure that every single Augustan gets counted and that their family members get counted as well. The start of door knocking, the Census Bureau enumerators have been on the ground in the community since August the 11th. At the start of the work, from the start of the work, August 11 to today, 2,931 individuals have self-responded. That's incredible. We're extremely excited about that, but our work is not done. I want to challenge and again call to action every single Augustan. Our federal resources, the resources for Title I funding for our schools, money that we receive for our Head Start, child care, law enforcement, public safety, as well as community development, block grant money, and housing dollars are directly tied to our census count or population that we have for the city of Augusta. This equates to tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars that flow through our communities. In the state of Georgia, we're talking about tens of billions of dollars that's dispersed across 159 counties and 538 municipalities and cities. Our focus is on Richmond County. Projected populations in 2019 was 202,000. With an accurate census count, we are projected to have 210,000 residents in the city of Augusta. That matters. It matters in terms of how we apportion congressional seats. It matters in terms of how we identify commission and school board districts. It matters in terms of how we have members of our state house and senate representation. And it also matters in terms of federal dollars. I want to take a moment and point out a few troublesome spots for us and encourage you to do these things. This is Census Tract 6. This area is literally situated where we are right now. This is the Augusta Municipal Building, the old government house. This is the Richmond County Sheriff's Administration Building. Most people know this as Old Town. We have currently about a 34.5% self-response rate in terms of individuals who have taken the opportunity to complete the census. We've got a lot of work to do in this area, and it's going to require all of our citizens to be involved in this good work if we're going to get this number higher than what it is. This is a troublesome spot for us, an area that many of us are very familiar with, and I need every Augustan who lives in Old Town, I need everyone who wants good public safety and law enforcement to take an opportunity to either complete your census by going to my2020census.gov or calling 1-844-330-2020. Starting tonight, enumerators will be on the ground in the urban core in the inner city who will be making an effort to come and knock on your doors, encouraging you to complete the census. I'm urging all Augustans to take an opportunity and allow them, when they knock on your door, to be sensitive, to be willing to listen, and more importantly, to either complete the questionnaire on your own or allow them to take 10 to 12 minutes of your time and to fill out the census while they are there on the spot. Let me mention another very important area. This right here is an area that's located near Doctors Hospital. We have over 1,000 apartment units in this area. This is another area that is troublesome in that a self-response rate of 40.6%. When you think about the mobile community that lives here, they're able to move, they're able to get around, but we've got substantial numbers of multifamily units, apartments, to the tune of well over 1,000, and yet we have a response rate of only 40.6%. You've got access to health care and all of the essentials in this area, but our response rate is exceptionally low, and I need Augustans to come together and to make sure that they go and fill out their census information. The final one that I'm going to mention, and there are 6 very troublesome areas in the city of Augusta. This next one here is a self-response rate of only 30.6%. Again, this is near Fire Station 6. This is in the Bethlehem community area, near Jones Pool, on the backside of Beulah Grove Baptist Church. And in those areas, it's extremely problematic with a self-response rate of only 30.6%. When you think about having access to broadband, when you think about having access for our students who live in and around this corridor, when you think about food insecurity and the challenges associated with communities like this, it is vital that we complete the census in these areas. Many of these individuals in this area do not have access to broadband. We've got to go into those areas and make sure that they get counted. This is an extremely important time for us as a city, an extremely important time for us as a community, that we must stand and have every Augustan counted. So as I close my comments on this afternoon, I once again want to say that we're making progress regarding COVID-19, but we're not out of the woods. We have to keep stinging. And in order to do that, you've got to wear a mask, you've got to wash your hands, you have to watch your distances. And now, that important work of completing the census. If you're listening by way of Facebook today and you've not completed your census, you can do it 2 ways. One, when someone knocks on your door and they say, fill out the form, you can put everyone's name in the house on it, or you can simply say, we've got 7 members in this house. That is something that is allowable because the Census Bureau has shared with us today that it's extremely critical to simply have a population count, even if I don't have all of the names of the individuals that live in the house. Once again, my2020census.gov, 1-844-330-2020, or fill the form out, mail it back in. We want to make sure every Augustan gets counted. We're an international city with national influence, and in order for that to continue, we need your help. Thank you for tuning in this afternoon. I'll take a few questions.
Mayor, you talked a little bit about the mass order that you extended until October. And what would it take for you to extend that order and maybe an increase in cases? And when you make those decisions to extend, are you looking at the data here in Richmond County, or are you looking at the statewide data as well?
Yes, sir, thanks for that question. I am looking at the data from a variety of sources. We begin first and foremost with the data that the Department of Public Health is providing us on a weekly basis and most often on a daily basis. So we know what those positive case counts are. Not only are we looking at that data, but we're looking at national information as it relates to the spread of the virus and where we stand with that. It's my hope and expectation that we'll continue to see the decline, and if there's a brief uptick, that it's truly tied to Labor Day. I'm encouraged with what I see happening in the Richmond County schools. I believe this is their second week in school, and when you look at the number of positive cases from last week, they've done an exceptional job of coordinating with the public health officials to include their meeting right now at 2 o'clock. And so that level of coordination is vital to our success in Richmond County, and I want to continue to see that. We don't want to have another executive order, but we will do that if necessary.
So currently there's a nearly 60% response rate for Richmond County. What was it like 10 years ago?
Well, 10 years ago we didn't have COVID-19. 10 years ago we not only didn't have COVID-19, but we didn't have a series of factors that are driving the conversation right now. And the self-response rate at the end of what they would call the work period was 63.5. So I think we're doing pretty good right now in terms of COVID-19 when I look at the fact that we're at about 60%. But what I also know today is that we have, of the 38,000 residences that the ACOs, which are the area census officials, 38,000 residents, they have already touched 90% of those. And we've got 7,000 residences that are left to be touched between today and September the 27th. And we're going to get that done over the next 7 days.
Realistically speaking, what percent of response rate do you expect, or are you hoping for here in Augusta?
Well, I'm expecting that we'll have 100% of all residences counted. What I'm looking for, and this has been my expectation, is that we would have been at about 74% from a self-response perspective overall. So when I look at where we are in light of COVID, we'll approach the 63.5%, which will be incredible.
Can you talk a bit about your teen ambassador program that you initiated a couple of weeks ago, and how is that going to help you guys reach the goal?
Well, the teen ambassadors, we have 10 teen ambassadors who are doing phenomenal work on social media. They are pushing out social media messages daily on multiple platforms: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We are now engaging them, and they're going to do some short video clips that we're going to push out broadly. We have some key influencers who have cut a series of videos for us as well. And we're going to be pushing all of that out digitally as well. And so these next 7 days are critical. It's almost like running a campaign where every hand is on deck to include our teen ambassadors. And we're going to use every resource available. A robocall will go out to all Augustans tonight. That will happen at about 6:30. And it will be a call to action that if you've not completed your census, we're urging you to do that now. And we're also letting people know that enumerators are going to be on the ground in the community. Do not chase them away. Don't put a gun in their face. Be kind and be sensitive, because the lifeblood of your schools, your hospitals, your local law enforcement, public safety It's tied to having an accurate count because federal dollars flow into our community as a result of that. And so, based on what I know today, we're going to be at a really good place from a census standpoint. I'm concerned, I'm animated, as the mayor, you want to win every day. And, people keep saying, well, we were at 63.5% in 2010, and that's true. But you didn't have to deal with COVID from March until now.
I have a question. How do you feel that Augustans are handling your executive order right now? Do you think that people are adhering well to these guidelines as far as the city's progress goes? Or could you comment a little bit about that?
In terms of the city's compliance, you're going to have pockets of detractors. That's always been the case. And you work with the detractors who say, well, it's not important. I shouldn't do it. But when you've got in Augusta 148 people who have passed away who matter to someone, I talk about the individuals we've lost in local government. I think you all are fully aware of the battles that my good friend, the late Tom Wheatmar, had with COVID-19. When I think about that, I think about the friends that I've lost besides Tom. This is a real enemy. This is a silent enemy. The silent enemy that sneaks up on you and attaches itself to you. And again, you can't take that lightly. And so I urge all Augustans, don't play around with partisanship. And COVID is not a Republican. COVID is not a Democrat. COVID is not an independent. COVID is not black. COVID is not white. COVID is a virus, and it is a fatal virus. And if we don't take the necessary steps to make sure that we're wearing a mask, washing our hands, and watching our businesses, we're going to lose more Augustans. We're going to lose more good Georgians. Almost 7,000 Georgians. And that's unfortunate.
And I have one more question.
Certainly.
You mentioned we're waiting on Labor Day statistics. How soon may we find out about that to determine what the next steps are?
Well, typically, you see that within that 8 to 12 day window before you start seeing cases that show up in the hospitals. But I'm going to rely on the tremendous relationship we have with all of our hospital officials, whether it's Augusta University Health, University Hospital, or University Healthcare System, doctors, the VAs uptown and downtown, and our partners at Fort Gordon at Eisenhower, who there's a weekly call every Wednesday at 10, where we're getting updates, we're having this conversation, and we're talking about how we as a community should engage and do the work. So that's what, that 8 to 12 day window, here it is, the 16th, and Labor Day was the 7th, I believe. So we're right at that point.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
A couple of weeks ago, you had this mask giveaway. Are you planning to try to get more masks and distribute more in the community in those areas that maybe you can tie it in with the census? Say you get a mask and you complete the census or something like that.
Well, we've got some other creative ideas about that, given the new information we received today in terms of the window of closure as it relates to the count. We had considered on yesterday having a food giveaway, particularly with the challenges around food insecurity in Augusta. I've had a conversation with Commissioner Gary Black about doing that, and I look forward to engaging he and his team. They've done it very successfully in the Atlanta area, and this is a way for us to mobilize a large event and bring people to that, and more importantly have census takers there who can have them fill out the census, to include my team ambassadors who have electronic devices to be able to do that as well. And so that's what we're thinking about, being able to mobilize it here within the next week. The mask conversation, we still have just a small sample of masks. We've got about 2,400 masks that are like this, cloth masks that are easy to put on. You can wash them, reuse them, and do those things. That first round of masks that we had, we gave out all of them in less than almost 24 hours. But we want to do everything that we can to make sure that Augustans are not only safe, but we're helping to provide them with the resources that they need to remain safe as we go through the fall. I want to encourage folks that we are coming into the fall of the year. If you've not had your flu vaccine, then I would encourage you certainly to go ahead and get that done as well. That's available, and if you're able to do that, it helps bolster your health and keep you safe as you see COVID-19 dovetailing right into what our healthcare officials are calling flu season. A lot to be done here. And again, I want to lift my voice to encourage people. These are things that are important. My parents, I'm very fortunate that both of my parents are still living, and I want to see them around for a long time. I visited with them on yesterday. When I go over, they love seeing their eldest son. I wear a mask. We hang out, we spend time, but we got to make sure that others have that same opportunity. Wonderful. All right, thank you all.